Today's report shows we created 428,000 jobs last month. And that means we have now created a total of 8.3 million jobs.
Really?
In my first 15 months in office.
I don't know about that. President Trump is the time
The
of number.
unemployment rate now stands at 3.6%, the fastest decline in unemployment
Here's
at
such
the
a
start of
thinking.
the president's term ever recorded. Again, because of the guys behind me. Black unemployment has been cut nearly in half since I took office. And unlike previous administrations, where the deficit went up, every single year we've reduced the deficit. Last year, with all we've done, we've reduced the deficit. This word? We reduced the deficit by a total of $350 billion.
Really?
That's reduced the deficit last year. And this year, by the end of the fiscal year, by October 1st, we will reduce this year's deficit by $1,500 billion.
How's
Never in the history of America
really?
has that
Really?
happened before.
It's a
The
liar.
backbone of our recovery is manufacturing. Manufacturing employment is up in America 545,000 jobs since I took office, the largest 15-month gain since 1985. And these manufacturing jobs matter because they fuel our economic growth. They fuel exports. And as we've seen, they can fuel innovation. And that is a critically strong economic growth that we need. And folks, look, and in small and large towns across America, they bring quality jobs and middle-class jobs to people. If you again excuse me to digress a second, when I ran, I made it clear, and I'm no bones about it. I was a senator for 36 years, so I'm not new to this. I'm tired of trickle-down economics.
Yeah.
I've never seen it really work. But I tell you what, I'm a capitalist.
He keeps
I
saying
want to
same
go
thing over and
from the
over.
bottom up and the middle out, because when that happens, everybody does well. The poor go way up, the middle class do fine, and the wealthy do very, very well.
The wealthy, the rich,
Never
the
get
richer.
hurt when that happens. Just ask small manufacturers here today in Ohio, Illinois, Florida, Connecticut, Virginia. They know what's going on. Folks, here, all of you know, every one of you know, that competitiveness and resilience of American supply chain rest on tens of thousands of small-sized manufacturers like the ones I met here today. That's where the supply chain in America is. And they account for nearly 99% of all manufacturing enterprises and more than 5 million American jobs. And every General Electric, Honeywell, Siemens Energy, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, there are hundreds, for every one of them, there's hundreds of, if not thousands of smaller suppliers that help these iconic American businesses compete globally. Decades ago, the federal government used to invest 2% of our entire GDP, 2% of our GDP in research and development. Well, guess what? We're down to investing less than 1%. We were ranked number one in the world in R&D 3 decades ago.
Stuck
Number
his
one.
hand in his pocket.
Now we're ranked number 9 in the world.
Mm.
China was number 8 in the world 30 years ago. Now they're number 2 in the world. We got to up our game.
Yeah.
It's a simple proposition. If we do, everybody's going to win. That's the other reason why I came here today. Right now, Congress is considering a bipartisan innovation
China's in
defense
my
of this bill
pocket.
Mm-hmm.
that's going to make generational investments in American innovation and manufacturing. Now look, if we're going to compete for the jobs of the future, we need to level the playing field with our competitors. The bill does that. The CEO of Intel told us that if this bill passes, what we're talking about, the guys behind me support it, and they're actually moving it, this would increase the investment that Intel will make in Ohio, outside of Columbus, from $20 billion to $100 billion. And as we Irish say, that's no malarkey, that's a fact. $100 billion. Imagine what that's going to do for Ohio, let alone Columbus. Not a joke. Think about it. It'd be staggering.
Yesterday we went to Columbus.
Nailed down for generations of leadership of this state once again like it used to be 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And it's not just Intel. foreign companies like Samsung and TSMC are ready to make a state-of-the-art chips, those computer chips,
Yeah.
ready to make them in Arizona and Texas. They already have it if this passes. And this is a bipartisan bill. Senators Brown and Portman are working hard to get it done. So every Republican and Democratic member of Congress, most of us agree on this. Pass the damn bill and send it to me. If we do, it's going to help bring down prices, bring home jobs, empower America's manufacturing comeback. Parenthetically again, I have spent, according to international folks, I spent more time with Xi Jinping, leader of China, than any other world leader has. Over 76 hours.
Really?
9 of them on the telephone, the rest in person. Since I was vice president,
get
he
the
was
guy
vice
to
president
understand
of
you.
China. And you know what? He makes it real clear.
Mhm.
Makes it real clear. He believes, like other autocrats around the world, that democracies can't compete in the 21st century because things are changing so rapidly.
Oh yeah,
Technology is
he's
changing in such a startling
not
way.
a democracy.
Countries are changing, literally changing their physical characteristics because of climate change. And he believes, and he
change.
says it straight up with me, that there is no way for democracies to compete with autocracies. Why?
Ooh.
Because we have to reach a consensus when we're in a democracy. And it takes time. Autocrats can move
He's
immediately.
talking to the box.
They don't have to wait. Well, guess what? So far, the last decade, he's been right. So much has changed. Just look around the world. What's
In my
happening?
pocket, buddy.
Those of you who are international business people, look what you have to do when you go to China to do business. You have to give them access to everything.
Well,
Everything you have, including your trade secrets. Not just China, though. China's not alone, but it is the single greatest competitor we have. And if we don't step up, we're going to be out. We're going to be out. And by the way, I showed up at a meeting called the G7, where the largest economies in the world meet. And guess what? 2 of them said to me that they thought that America's days were over as leader. I sat down at the meeting, the first meeting I attended. I have one on Saturday, but the first meeting I attended in England. And I had all the major G7 nations there,
she said,
including 2 members who were not, 2 nations who were not members, including India.
uh-oh.
And I said, America's back. And the president of one of the major companies looked at me and said, for how long? For how long? Not a joke. You guys know it. I mean, these guys are sophisticated as hell. For how long? Well, guess what? They know we're back now. Not because of me, because of them and all of the attitude is changing.
Did you see that guy's
Yeah.
signal?
You've never seen a time when Europe and NATO was more closely aligned. No breathing room between us. Closer than we have ever been. Because a lot of us, I spent well over 120 hours, either in person or on the phone with my colleagues, my counterparts. Every single solitary
What's
week
that
and most
flag?
days
Does
of
that
the week.
mean
Mm.
China?
Making it clear that for democracies to sustain what used to be the case, we have to step up our game across the board. You know, there's a thing for the Democratic
Mhm.
Institute where
There's
I was
another
supposed to hold a meeting of all the heads of state of democratic countries. We had to do it virtually from the White House. Well, guess what? In the last 10 years, there's 15 fewer democracies in the world. Fewer. Not more, fewer.
You're trying to
There's
make
a lot
us
at
one of them.
stake. But we're better prepared than anybody else. I know that Senator Brown and Portman are going to work with our colleagues to finish this bill, but it didn't, they did it in infrastructure. They're doing it again on this. Let's get this Bipartisan Innovation Act to my desk. And look, folks, just look at what's within our reach. I've never been more optimistic, and I mean this sincerely. I've never been more optimistic about America than I am today. Not because I'm president, but because everybody's waking up. It's a new time. Because of my economic strategy,
You ain't
companies
gonna wait.
and jobs are coming home again. We're making Buy America reality, not just a slogan. Because of the bipartisan infrastructure law that Sherrod and Rob worked really hard to pass, We're going to rebuild America. We're going to rebuild a better America.
You're full of it.
$1.2 billion trillion.
Billion, trillion
That
dollars.
bridge, if you
Museum
really want to
stutter.
go to Kentucky, is going to get better.
What?
No, but really, we're talking about billions of dollars. Modernizing roads, bridges, airports, delivering clean water, high-speed internet to every American.
High-speed internet.
It's gonna move goods faster and more efficiently, lowering transportation costs, helping us compete,
There he goes.
out-compete anyone in the world. Where are those two beautiful young girls? You see these
Oh
young girls
no.
here?
Uh-oh.
They wrote
What?
me a letter
Uh-oh.
about wanting me to help do more on trains. Well, guess what? Because of the guys behind me, we have allocated more money for rail systems in America than the entirety of the Amtrak appropriation began the first. And I know about Amtrak. I've traveled 1.2 million miles on Amtrak because I commuted every single solitary day, 270 miles a day, as my colleagues can tell you when the Senate was in session. You get a kick out of this, Sherry. I was, the Secret Service doesn't like me taking the train because it stops too many places. And so I was riding home, though, to see my mom, who was living with me because she was in hospice. And on a Friday, and a guy named Angelo Negri, a conductor, senior conductor, walked up and said, "Joey, baby!" Grabbed my cheek. I thought he was going to shoot him. You know, they go, "Joey!" I said, "Ange," I said, "He's okay, he's a friend. True story." He said, "What's all this I read in the paper? You travel over 1 million miles on Air Force planes. Every single mile a vice president or president travels, they keep a public record of on an aircraft, an American aircraft."
Really?
And he said, "The boys and I were at the retirement dinner up in Jersey. So we figured it out. Average 222 days a year, 36 years. Total of 269 miles every day. Joey," whether it's true or not, I said, 1,200,000 miles, not counting as vice president. So I know a lot about trains. And by the way, the reason we're doing it, the reason these guys supported it, it's not just Amtrak, it's also vehicles and buses in towns and cities and light rail. It's because it's going to clean the environment. Everybody knows if you can get on a train and travel from here to Columbus and do it quicker than you can in your car, you're going to do it. It's going to take thousands of vehicles off the road.
Yeah.
But my point is, folks, look, there's so much we can do. Just find America for me. I said, "Yes, I can." One word. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Think about this.
Think about it.
The one word that defines America better than any other country in the world.
Think about this.
Possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Possibilities.
Possibilities.
We've never believed there's anything out of our reach if we set our mind to it. And we've never failed when we've set our mind to it. Whether it's going to space or to the bottom of the ocean. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Look, I just told you about those computer chips in Intel. It's going to make them here in Ohio. Well, America invented those chips. We invented them, nobody else. They helped power the NASA mission to the moon. They gave us a military edge in the Cold War. And the federal investment from NASA and the military that kept fledgling chip industry alive, brought down the cost of making them, built a market, ushered in a new digital age. But then we stopped investing in ourselves. These chips are now predominantly made overseas. We learned a hard lesson during the pandemic. 1/3 of core inflation we faced last year is because of automobiles, the cost. Why? We had a lot of buyers because wages went up 5.5%. People wanted to buy things. But why couldn't they buy them? Because they couldn't make them. Why couldn't they make them? They didn't have the chips. The shortage of semiconductors. That's not that the same thing happened here today with 3D printing and other advanced manufacturing that was invented and pioneered in America. These technologies revolutionize the way of life. They keep prices low for businesses and families. So let's make them in America again. Let's build a future here in America. Let's remember who in God's name we are. We're the only country in the world. And the reason why we sometimes called ugly America so can be defined by the notion of possibilities. There's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing beyond our capacity.
What's
Not a single thing. If we act as the United States of America. The United States of America. So folks, I really am optimistic because of the guys behind me and other men and women like them. We're about to enter a new period. We just got to stay the course, have confidence in ourselves. And by the way, there's overwhelming strength in our diversity. It's about time. I'll end by saying, when I got elected, I made a promise. I said my administration is going to look like America. Whether it's a vice president or a secretary of state or a cabinet member or a senior person, it's going to look like America.
It don't look like
It does.
America. No,
And
it
one more
don't.
thing. I know how to say the word union. Not labor, union. The single best workers in the world. So folks, let's go do this, okay? I want to thank the folks here. I want to thank all the major corporations here. And I want to thank what you're doing, all the small business we're going to bring together here. You're bringing together because we're going to provide good, decent jobs. And we're going to educate people to be able to handle all these jobs. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.